Fore Please.
Oh, what a shot. Oh, yes.
Have you seen anything like that?
Fore Please. Now driving.
Justin Rose tied a career-best day here at Augusta National Thursday, carding a 7 under 65, equaling his first-round effort in 2021. Rose has now played 71 rounds in the Masters during his career, and today tied his very best. As the leader after 18 holes Thursday, Rose moves past Jack Nicklaus for the most 18-hole leads or co-leads in Masters history. This is the 5th time he's left Augusta National on Thursday evening as the leader. Rose's 8 birdies were the most of his career in any round at the Masters. Afterward, he told Scott Van Pelt, "I had the energy going, the feel going, felt like I might have a no-hitter going there for a minute. I felt like 17 and 18 were gettable, but poor tee shots, unfortunately. An incredible effort by a great champion." Hello everyone, welcome to Fore Please Now Driving, the official Masters podcast. I'm your host, Marty Smith. Rosie was spectacular on Thursday. His 7 under 65 was 3 shots clear of the field. That included 2-time and defending Masters champion Scottie Scheffler, Corey Connors, and 2024 second-place Masters finisher Ludwig Oberg at 4 under par. 2-time U.S. Open champion Bryson DeChambeau stands at 3 under, entering Friday. After his round, when asked if someone had told him Thursday morning that he'd shoot 4 under, Scheffler said, "I'd have felt pretty good about that. I have a feeling the golf course will firm up as we go and the weekend progresses." Rory McIlroy, still chasing the green jacket after 16 tries, was 4 under as well when he arrived at Firethorn, the 15th hole here at Augusta. His 3rd shot found Rays Creek, and he ultimately carded a double bogey, his first double bogey on 15 at the Masters since 2013. And then 2 holes later, on Nandina, he carded the first double bogey of his career on the 17th hole here at Augusta National. All said, for the 7th consecutive year, McIlroy finds himself at least 6 shots back of the leader following the first day of competition. To break down the first round of the 89th Masters, Kyle Porter, founder of Normal Sport, joins me now. A thrilling opening round in a lot of ways, sir. What stood out most to you about the opening round of the 89th Masters?
Yeah, it's always, I think it's the best Thursday of the golf year. There's always so much anticipation, and I think what stood out was Scottie's adult 68. You know, I was walking with somebody out there throughout the day, and you're just like, he's gonna 34 this place to death. And what I mean by that is every 9 it's like 33, 34, maybe a 35 if he has a bad couple of holes. And he's just so consistent, and he plays the golf course that is presented to. I asked him about this before the tournament. I said, strategically, how do you attack Augusta National? Because everybody does it a different way. And he said, well, it depends on what the conditions are that day. It depends from hole to hole. It kind of changes a little bit. And that kind of surprised me. I didn't maybe expect it to be that fluid for him, but it really is, and he did it again on Thursday.
To me, being around him some, he seems completely impervious to pressure. Yeah. It's almost like he's unaware of it, even though we know he is, and he thrives within that energy. But what athletes have you ever been around that had that kind of almost, I can compartmentalize this silo in my life, but it's not my life, and go play free?
So the comp that I've made with him is Federer. And the reason that I made that comp, they have different styles. Scottie's not as beautiful as Federer was or is. But the reason I say Federer is because if you look at their youth, kind of their junior careers, both had huge temper problems. Scottie's talked about that. We've heard Federer talk about that over the course of his career. And I think there's this, there's just this sense of like, they're so like in their own world when they're playing. Like they don't really give you anything. There's not a ton. Scottie's been more demonstrative recently, But over the course of his career, he just doesn't give you a ton, and Federer was like that as well. And then you see the emotion at the end. We saw it at the Olympics with Scotty. We see it every time Federer wins Wimbledon. He just falls down, weeping. Like, we see it a lot at the very end of an event, but you don't really see it throughout kind of as the event's taking place. So that was one guy that I thought of as I kind of think about his career.
Justin Rose, fantastic round, shoots a 7 under 65, ties his effort here in 2021. And getting off in a hurry here can be incredibly beneficial in a lot of ways. And I loved his explanation of it after his round, that you can have patience with various shots that you might not when you're in chase mode. What did you see from him today that stood out?
Well, he just made so many birdies. I mean, it was just obvious. He made a ton of them up until the end. He bogeyed 18 there. He's such a good ball striker, and I think he's kind of underrated in that sense. Justin Rose is a great champion, and he doesn't maybe get talked about as much as some other guys in this generation. I was looking. I got a stat for you. So this is the 8th time he's led or co-led after one of the first 3 rounds, which is tied for third most ever. The only 2 ahead of him are Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer.
Not bad company, Kyle.
He's tied with, let me see if I get this right, Raymond Floyd, Gary Player, and Jordan Spieth. So those 3 guys he's now tied with. The 2 ahead of him, those 5 guys that are not Justin Rose, they have a combined 15 Masters wins, and he still has yet to win one. He's held more leads after the first 3 rounds than Tiger Woods.
So what happens?
Well, I think there's this sense of we see this more so at other majors, not necessarily at the Masters, but you can almost get out ahead of yourself, and your goal is to peak on Sunday after 72 holes. That's when you want to have your lowest score of the entire week, obviously. That's what I've seen Tiger do that a ton, where he'll kind of shoot 70 on Thursday, and then it gets electric on Friday, Saturday, and then he kind of protects a little bit on Sunday. And I think there's this sense of you can get so far out in front that you're like, I don't know whether I should keep going or if I should start protecting. Because this is a golf course. I mean, we've seen this, Marty. You can make par fairly easily, but if you start trying to take on shots and make birdies, it gets you can
get over your skis.
Make 6s and 7s pretty easily. So I think sometimes when you have a big lead like that, it gets your strategy. You're in between. You don't totally know what to do, and I think that's happened a few times with Rose.
Through 14, Rory McIlroy was 4 under par, and then he double bogeys 15, and then he double bogeys 17 for the first time ever here in Masters play. This is the 7th consecutive year that he leaves Thursday at least 6 shots behind the leader. What say you about his current situation?
Well, it's disappointing. I think it's such a testament to, with him, I asked him this probably 3 years ago. I said, what is it about this place? Is it a physical issue? Is it what is it? And he said it's emotional and mental. And that's what's special about Augusta, is it messes with you. Mm-hmm. We've seen Ernie Els talk about this. We've seen guys that just struggled here over the years talk about how it's almost not even about golf, right? It's barely about the shots you're hitting, and it just gets in your head. And I think that, through 14 holes, he was in the 15th fairway, 4 under, and he finishes even. He hasn't broken par, Marty. He's broken par 1 time in the first round over the last 7 years here, which is, for him, that's so bad. Somebody
who's so incredibly talented.
Totally.
Enters with those 2 victories, first time ever that he entered the Masters that way.
I think it's just a mental block, and I feel for him because you're out there all day and everybody wants him to win this golf tournament. He always says, nobody wants to win more than I do. There's a lot of people out there that want him to win today, and it's a bummer because he was playing good golf. I mean, his first 14 holes, just, again, a lot of adult decisions, and then 15, it was just you got to play for 5 or 6 there. I mean, we saw Patrick Cantlay make 8 there from behind the green. I know Rory's not watching that as he's playing, but it's a hard. You're pitching into that green that's going downhill and just running toward the water with a front pin. He took on too much and had to pay the price.
It's so interesting his situation here. I'm sure you chatted with him extensively before we got here. I did as well. And to me, there seems to be this emotional freedom in him that we've not seen in a while.
Agree.
He's not carrying the PGA Tour on his back. He has his family life and his home life really put together and fulfilling. And I felt like coming in here, this guy's hell for leather. Yeah. And here we are.
Yeah. And that's what this place does to you. You know, I wrote a piece before the Masters started about how the thing I love about Augusta is it's such a grandiose stage. It's the biggest stage, but it's also such an intimate place, right? When you're on 12 or 10 or anywhere on the property, you're like, man, I've seen so many people here. Or if you're a player, you've been there so many times. And so that juxtaposition of like biggest stage in golf, but also so familiar and so intimate, which is so different than the other majors. I think that juxtaposition creates just so much emotional and mental pressure, and he has really struggled to deal with that over the last, since 2011, I guess.
So now we'll move to Friday with Rosie atop the leaderboard, Scotty right there, Bryson DeChambeau at 3 under par. There's some real stars.
Yeah.
And Corey Connors right there at 4 under.
Yeah.
A fantastic for him.
Yeah, Ludwig's in there. I think one thing that I'm watching for going into Friday is the last 20 years, only Tiger has come from outside the top 10 to win this tournament after the first round. So if you look at your top 10 after round one, every 18 of the last 20 champions have been in that top 10 after the first round. The only ones that haven't were Tiger in 2005. He was like T33, which was crazy. And then Tiger in 2019, he was T11. So he was pretty close.
Of course, both times it's Tiger Woods.
But to that point, you've got Scotty, you've got Ludwig, you got Bryson. We were talking about it. It's a very difficult chaser's course because if you start to, you can take on. If you bite off more than you can handle on 11 or 12 or any of those holes, all of a sudden you make 7 and you're back out of it. So it's a hard place to chase. So I'm interested to see how it goes on Friday.
Quickly, before I let you run, we mentioned Tiger in 2005 right there. Today, as you and I sit here, is the 20th anniversary of one of the greatest golf shots that anyone's ever hit.
Here it comes. Oh, my goodness. Have you seen anything like that?
Where does that golf shot live in your inspiration? What do you remember?
Yeah, I was in college in 2005, so I was obviously not covering golf. But for me, my grandfather had badges to the Masters when I was growing up, and so he went. When I was a kid, he started giving them to my parents as I got into middle school and high school. And then 2007 was my first time to come here. I came with my dad, which was really special. And so I always had these very family-oriented, familial memories of this tournament, watching with either my parents or college friends or siblings or whatever, just because of my grandfather's experience having been a badge holder. And so that whenever I think about anything, any big Masters moment, that's kind of where my mind runs to. So it was obviously just, you've been over there. It's the craziest. And my parents used to sit on 16. They weren't there that year, but they would sit by that big tree where he made that shot. And so it was a very again, almost intimate experience for me, having known what their experience was like, having been there, and then eventually to have my own experiences on 16 as well.
Why does the Masters create that family traditional, pass it down from generation to generation sentiment. It's funny. Everyone I talk to, I live it too. I feel the exact same way you do.
Mm-hmm.
When I come here, I remember being in the yard, playing with my buddies. I was 9 years old. My daddy came out ripping a heater and said, "Get in here. You got to watch this." And it was 1986.
Yeah.
He said, "You need to watch this. Sit down on the couch and watch this with me." And every year we watch the Masters together. And I come here and I pinch myself and I can't fathom the fact that I actually get to be here.
Yeah. I agree.
And everyone, I mean, from Tom Watson to Kyle Porter, everybody I talk to says that exact thing, that it has this way of rooting you in your love for family. Why?
Well, it's almost like I was thinking about this before the tournament. It's almost like a holiday. And the reason you say that is because, so the other three majors, they go to different venues every year, and so that changes. And there's some rhythm to that. There's some, the U.S. Open on Father's Day, or depending on, PGA's changed around a little bit, but the Masters is the biggest event that is at the same place every single year. And so when I say it's like a holiday, when you go to Christmas or you go to Thanksgiving or Easter or whatever it is, I think our minds are trained to think about, man, what was I like this time last year? What was I doing this time last year? Passage of time. What was my relationship with my dad like this time last year at Christmas? Who passed away this time last year, or since the last time we did Christmas? And for whatever reason, the Masters has become that for a lot of people. Whenever I come here, I stand down by the big scoreboard by one and think about, man, when I first started coming here, my first kid wouldn't be born for another 6 years. And now she's going to be 12 next week. And that's like I think the passage of time is always emotionally affects us, but because it's in the same place, it's almost like this annual holiday-like affair for families. And it's something it's meant a lot to me and meant a lot to my family over the years.
I think that's incredibly well said. And I agree. I love on Sunday afternoon walking down to Amen Corner and going to the concession stand and buying a beer, 2 in fact. And I have one for me and I have one for my daddy. And I think of him and I think of his influence and incredible passion for life, and how that was passed to me through him, and how this event was so indelible in informing that. I'm humbled by this place, and I will always be, no matter how many times I'm blessed enough to come back. Very well said. Thank you for your insight, for
Thanks,
your time.
Marty.
Really appreciate you, Kyle.
Absolutely.
Thank you. One gentleman who knows how to conquer Augusta is a man who did it not once, but twice, Tom Watson. Mr. Watson was kind enough to join me Thursday afternoon for a wide-ranging conversation about his Masters experience, the incredible evolution of the greatest event in golf, and storytelling that will leave golf historians smiling. Tom Watson is a 2-time Masters champion, 1977 and 1981, an 8-time major champion.
Champion of 1977, Tom Watson, the pride of Missouri, Colorado, and Stanford.
When you're a great ambassador for this tournament, what does your week look like when you get to Augusta?
Well, the thing I'll point to is the past champions dinner on Tuesday night, or the champions dinner on Tuesday night. That's where non-active and active champions get together and shoot the bull and have a good time, eating great food, and it's always been a special night for me, because just going back to the very first one, 1978, after I won my first Masters tournament in 77, I walk in the room there, and there in the corner over there was Gene Sarazen. I look, wow, it's Gene Sarazen. Gene Sarazen won the Masters in 1935. That was 43 years ago. And he won the U.S. Open and 13 years before that in 1922. And here's Gene Sarazen. And we sat down. We had a great conversation. And I ate it up. To listen to the way it was. I had a great friend, Byron Nelson, who was there. We had people like Claude Harmon, who was a great storyteller. Sam Snead, he was about the worst joke teller, but he had 1,000 of them. And
He liked to tell them, they just weren't very good.
Well, he had all these corny jokes and things, but it was always a lot of fun to be around those guys and to listen to him talk about the way the course used to play versus the way it played when I played. It was different, and it was I ate it up. I love that information.
When you walk into the room and see Mr. Sarrazin sitting there, when you go over to approach him, what do you say?
Well, I go over and I say, Mr. Sarrazin, I'm Tom Watson. I want to meet you. And we struck up a good conversation. He was called the Country Squire. He had a estate up in the Northeast, and he always really dressed, very dapper. He was a dapper dresser. Like all the old guys were really dapper dressers. They really were. They took real pride in the fabrics they used, the way they looked. But I had the opportunity to play with Gene. It was really it was unannounced. A club member here, Dan Yates Sr., was a friend of mine, and I called Dan after I won the tournament, and I asked him, could you host my father and myself to play Augusta on the Sunday before the tournament? And he said, sure, I'd love to. And he calls me about 2 days before and he said, Tom, I've added a fourth to the group. And I said, who might that be? And he said, Gene Sarrazin. And I went, Gene Sarrazin? And I couldn't wait to play, especially on behalf of my dad, because my dad was a great historian, golf historian, and he knew the stories about Gene, and they got along famously around the 18 holes they played together. It was one of my most special moments on a golf course was playing with my dad, Gene Sarrazin.
I feel like Augusta National and this Masters tournament have this very unique way of making those moments with family members even more special. There's a way to be grounded here that I don't feel in a lot of places. You've had this amazing moment with your father. What's your perspective on that? How this place brings kind of the best out of us?
Well, Augusta National is always catered to the families. They really have from day one since I was here. I played here as an amateur in 1970, and I wrote a letter to Bob Jones, and I said, thank you for the invitation. I was wondering if I might get some passes for my mother and father and uncle and aunt. I was just, maybe it was a bold ask, but I wrote them a letter, and they said, of course, bring your family, and they've always treated the families with very, very well. And I go back to what Billy Payne said, his very first Masters Champions dinner. He got up to speak, and he said, gentlemen, it is our vision that we're going to make this the most important sporting event in the world. Not golf tournament, but sporting event in the world.
I would certainly argue that they've achieved that. That evening in 1977, after everything you did in the aftermath of that victory and it got quiet, and you could finally be quiet, what was racing through your mind in that moment?
Make a phone call, a couple of phone calls.
And to whom did you make those calls?
They put me in the cabin. I think it was the Eisenhower cabin. I said, if you'd like to make a phone call, please just dial out, and you can dial. So I dialed my great friend and teacher, Stan Thirsk, who was the pro at the Kansas City Country Club and who'd worked with me in my golf swing, a great friend. We played so much golf together, one of the most finest gentlemen that I've ever met. And I called him up and I said, Stan, we did it. And he couldn't be more proud. He said, you played great, and like that. My second phone call went to my great friend and mentor Byron Nelson. And I said the same thing to Byron. Byron, we did it. And he's the same congratulatory response from Byron. It was two very special phone calls that I was able to make before dinner. And that night we had dinner with the club members here. Tennessee Ernie Ford sang 16 tons.
Wow, you really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And it was, I had, we just had a wonderful time with my family, and it was a special night, obviously.
You won 39 times on the PGA Tour, but those 8 major championships, I would imagine as a competitor, you have to go to a different mental space. To win here at Augusta National, what does a man have to have in him in order to prevail here?
Yeah, the same thing to prevail any other tournament, really.
Is it really, is the pressure no different?
The pressure is greater, but again, you play under pressure all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn how to monitor the pressure and keep it from getting too great, and conversely, relax too much. I made a number of mistakes after I've hit a great golf shot and let my guard down, and the pressure kind of left me, and I just wasn't focused. I remember Byron saying the same thing. He said, I always played better when I really wasn't quite sure of my golf swing. He said, if I went on the practice range and I was just hitting everything pure practice like that, I'd make stupid mistakes. But when you're just a little bit unsure, I think you think out the shot maybe a little bit more than just, yeah, I've got this. That attitude, well, I've got this, and you just hit, no, all of a sudden you make a mistake. And then, strangely enough, the shot that really meant the most to me in the whole tournament that first year was the shot I hit at 16. The flag's back left. I had a choice between a 5-iron and a 6-iron. And 6-iron was probably the safe play, but I said, I'm going to go right at it. I'm going to cut a 5-iron right off the bunker. And if I hit a little bit right, it hits in the hill and kicks left. And I hit the 5-iron so solid. I mean, as soon as I hit it so solidly that the pressure it just was there, right up at your throat, just drained, just went right out of my body. I didn't make the putt for birdie, but I played the last 2 holes with not the pressure I was playing under, for that round. And I birdied 17 and parred 18 to win by 2. And it was amazing that that one shot, what it did to my psyche, my body. I'll never forget that shot.
Your golfer recall is remarkable to me. How you guys can remember every tournament, every shot,
That's
every club,
wrong.
what shape.
That is absolutely wrong.
It's just the big
no,
ones.
we can remember certain shots, and there's in certain tournaments. But it was funny. I was talking to Jack about the Open Championship at Turnberry when we played the last 2 rounds together, and we did a couple of different interviews, and he gets like we're sitting right here, and they start talking to us about what happened during the tournament. He said, I don't remember anything. What? And I said, Jack, on the first hole, you hit it. I don't remember that. And then the second, third, the second hole, you pull hooked it. He pull hooked it in the third fairway, and made birdie, and I made bogey. And oh yeah, I remember. I made birdie there, and it was funny.
You do a pretty good Jack Nicklaus.
But no, we don't remember every shot, but we do have some wonderful memories, and some really memories that tore our guts out. That's the game. That's the game that we play. Anybody plays a game, they're not always winners, obviously. You're going to have defeats, but having defeats is early in my career, learning. I learned to win by hating to lose because I lost a lot.
What What loss stuck with you the longest?
The Open Championship at Turnberry in '94. So I was really, really playing well, but putting's horribly. I was just striking the ball. I mean, I had the ball all around the hole. I wasn't making any putts. And the last round I started off, I should have birdied the first 7 holes, and I was 1 under. And I get to 8, and I hook it and then I 3-putt, make a double bogey, and 9, I make another double bogey, and I'm out of the tournament. That was really that tore my guts out, because I had the tournament won if I could just made some putts, and I did. And you know how you start gripping tighter. You know, you're holding on too tight. Goes back to Top Gun. He's holding on too tight. You're holding on too tight. That's what I was doing.
What players in the game today most impress you?
Well, obviously Scotty Scheffler is the most impressive golfer of today. He's playing great golf, and he had a great year last year, and the year before he had another great a great year when he started his run. And it's maybe too soon to tell, but he's the top dog.
What do you think is hanging over Rory McIlroy as he continually tries to chase this Masters championship?
Well, everybody puts pressure on him to win, but again, he teed it up like any other golf tournament, and he says, "Well, all the people they want me to win." They say you need to win. It's yours to win, but when you tee it up on Thursday, that all goes out the window. All you do is concentrate on the golf course and just play the golf course. And the media puts pressure, the fans put pressure, but you have to ignore the pressure. And some people may not be able to ignore it. I could. It was I had blinders on in the sense that when I teed it up, didn't matter what was going on outside me. I was playing the golf course and golf course only.
11 men have had the blessing of being the honorary starter, and you're one of those 11. What do you recall about getting that phone call or that invitation?
I got the phone call from Fred Ridley. He said, "Tom, you've been a great champion here at Augusta. We conduct yourself very well, and we'd love to have you as an honorary starter along with Jack and Gary." And my first response is, "Well, I'm not in the same league as those guys. It's once you just have those 2 guys, tee off, you don't need a third guy." He said, "No, Tom, we really would like you to consider doing this." And I said, "Well, it's a great honor. I accept." And then with that, he said, "Tom, you may have this honor for forever, for however long you want to do it." And I said, "Well, that is so generous of you." And here I am this 3rd year, and it's to be able to tee off and start a tournament that I love. I've played well in over the years, and shared the memories with Sam Snead and my good friend Byron Nelson and Arnold Palmer. It's just a tremendous honor to be asked, and of course I was going to accept. But I just wanted to know that if for me, I'd just probably have Jack and Gary be the honorary stars and not me. But when he kind of insisted that they wanted me to be the honorary starter, I said, "Of course."
So grateful for your time. Thank you so much for taking time today.
Sure. You
really
bet.
appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Speaking of intimidating, Detroit Lions superstar Aiden Hutchinson is a problem for opposing NFL offenses, but he's a sweetheart off the field. Aiden took time with me earlier in the week, just off the 15th green, to discuss life lately, including visits to Augusta and the gratitude he has just to walk these hallowed grounds. Even more so now, following the broken leg that sidelined him midway through the 2024 season, and the extensive rehab he's done to get back to full strength and climb the hills here at the Masters again. Detroit Lions defensive end Aiden Hutchinson, a Heisman finalist at the University of Michigan and a great friend. First of all, I'm proud of you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
All right. One of the things that Augusta National is best known for is the undulation, how hilly it is. How's that leg holding up this morning?
I'll tell you what. Feels amazing, man. It
Good.
feels amazing, and I can say I am grateful to be here. You know, you don't think about that undulation when you got a healthy leg, but now that I'm walking again, I've been walking, but now that I'm running full speed going, like you're grateful that when you walk you don't feel pain. You know, so I think that's this injury has definitely made me very blessed for these moments, for sure.
Appreciate
Absolutely.
health more.
Oh, well, I mean, when you go from 1 second, you're just a high-performing athlete, running at full speed, bending corners, and the next one you can't even get to the bathroom on your own. You know, it's a very humbling experience. So I think when you get all that stuff back, you don't take it for granted. That's for sure.
I love that perspective.
Yeah.
As you walk in here to Augusta National, what do you think and what do you feel?
You know, this is my second time being here, and every time you walk in here, you feel the history, you feel the moment. I mean, it's Tuesday. I'm fired up to see this thing pan out. So it's really always such a cool experience being here, and the fans, everyone's so invested in what's going on. No cell phones, everyone's locked in, focused. You know, it's I think there's something special about how they do things here.
That is one of my favorite aspects of it. In this life now, rare is the platform when we don't have a cell phone and we're not watching the world through the lens of an iPhone.
And someone's at the tee box and there's 80 phones just like it's just, I think it's special having it's what makes Augusta unique in many ways.
As someone who's extremely well versed on big stages and loud stadiums and everything that comes with the pressure of the biggest stages, how do you describe, having experienced it, what this is like when it gets to tournament play and those guys have to really lock in?
Yeah, I think golf is definitely more of a mental game, I think, than football. Don't get me wrong, football is a mental game, but golf, you got to be locked in for 5-6 hours from Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You know, you really have to lock in, and I think the guys that have that strongest mental game, ultimately they come out on top because, you know, they all got great swings, they all can hit it far, but it's who can withstand the adversity in their round, and I think that's where the greats are made, for sure.
What is your favorite aspect of coming here in terms of the traditions?
Favorite tradition? I think going here and having a pimento cheese sandwich.
My man.
That to me is, I think,
have you
the
taken,
most ideal.
All right, I got some advice for you.
Go ahead.
Buy a pimento cheese.
Yeah.
Buy an egg salad.
You stack them, huh?
Rip them in half
Oh.
and slap them back together and do the
I've never
combo
done
meal.
that. You know what? I'll tell you what. I got some time after this today. I'll do it today. I'll do it today.
I'm telling you, I know it sounds a little unorthodox.
Yeah.
But it is fantastic.
Okay, wait. How many Masters is this for you?
This is my 10th.
Okay, so you're well versed.
I'm very well versed, and I will tell you.
So I can trust you on this take then, huh?
I don't know where you live in the cold beer space. May not be your thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But if it is, if it happens to be, one of the things that I love to do the most is on Sunday afternoon,
Yeah.
I will walk down here.
Yeah.
I'll buy a couple crow's nests.
Yeah.
I will go to Amen Corner. I will sit down, and I'll have one for me and one for my daddy, because I watch the Masters with him every year. And that is such a special time for me to spend that time in reflection and thinking about him, because that's one thing about this place too, is there's this really unique family energy.
Absolutely.
Where everybody is kind of pulling in the same directions, and you care so deeply about that tradition and the reverence for the grounds that you live your life in almost a different way.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really special. Thanks for sharing that with me. I feel like I was here in 2023 with my dad, and like I feel like having a father-son experience here is like it's just it's very special. And I tell you what, I didn't even grow up with my dad doing anything. We didn't.
As they're skipping balls across 16 right behind us over here.
I didn't even. We didn't grow up watching golf or anything. But I think just being here, like you said, it's that family atmosphere, father and son, where you just go and it's very almost nostalgic. Even though you don't, I didn't really grow up in the golf space, but you still feel it.
But you and your dad have such a special bond.
Right.
You've done everything there is to do together in the football space, except the Super Bowl yet.
That's right.
That's coming, right?
Yeah.
That's coming.
Yeah.
So to get to spend that time with him completely uninterrupted for 8 or 9 or 10 hours out here at the Mecca, it must have just been incredible.
So special. Yeah, it was.
What stands out most from that day?
That's a good question. Honestly, we never really posted up. We were honestly kind of just walking around, taking it in, and that was it's those moments that, you know what I mean. Not necessarily anything big happens, but you're spending quality time with someone at a place that is so cherished by. I mean, everybody knows what the Masters is. Everybody knows what goes on in this week, and I feel like having to experience that with your dad or someone that's very close to you. It's just no phones, no nothing. You're just here with your company, and that's it. You know, I think that's what makes it special, is the little things about it.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
All right, let's just switch gears a little bit.
Yeah.
With that rehab that you're in, I saw the video of you sprinting the other day.
Okay.
You look really good.
Thank you.
Full tilt. Weaving. Yeah, changing direction. Where would you say you are in that process?
I'm there. I'd say I'm good. You know, I got my last evaluation tests when I get back. I leave today and I go back tomorrow to the rehab, and I'm gonna finish those evals. And once I knock them out of the park, I'll be on my way and done with rehab. So it was a long process. I'll tell you that. It felt pretty long. The early stages were pretty rough, but just being out of that now, like we were talking about earlier, you have this appreciation for your body, you have appreciation for no pain and running, and I'm happy to be done with that. And people were loving that sprinting video too. I didn't think people would love it as much as they did, but it's I got a lot of text messages, a lot of people DMing me and stuff, and it was cool. The support has been amazing.
What new perspective do you have about the blessing to play the game?
Right. You know, I think this is the biggest injury I've ever had, and I think I have, of course, when you're ripped out of the game, you love it, you want to get back. That's natural. But to me, it was having this empathy for people that get hurt in the NFL, you know, playing at such a high level and then getting ripped from that. I feel like I typically see guys in that training room and I'd be like, hey man, hope you're all right, hope you're doing better, blah, blah, blah. And then when I was then in that position and guys like, it's a funny perspective. Guys would come up to me and they'd be like, hey man, I hope you're doing okay. Like, this is like 3 weeks in now. And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, dude, like if people keep like victimizing me, like I'm gonna victimize myself, you know what I mean? So I feel like it got to a point where I love when people came up and they were just like treated me like everything was normal, you know, and I gained an understanding from a different side of the game, which I would never have without this injury, you know. So that was something that I really learned about, is having that empathy for the injured people, you know, the guys in the training room just dugging it out.
You've always had such tremendous perspective and spirit, and I've always appreciated you. Thank you so much for taking time.
Appreciate it, Marty.
You're the man. Best of luck.
I'm glad we got to talk, man. It's been a minute. It's been a minute, but it's always great talking with you.
That's it for Thursday at the 89th Masters. A fantastic day for Rosie and for Scotty. Friday looms. Some will find themselves one step closer to a dream. Others, heartbreak. Thank you all so very much for spending your time with us here on Fore Please Now Driving, the official Masters podcast. I'm your host, Marty Smith. Be well, and we'll see you Friday.